I'm Sarah Vieweg. I'm a user experience researcher at Facebook. Honor being the absolutely most important, modesty, which is bound up in privacy, which is very nuanced. There's many levels of privacy in the Gulf that people adhere to in different ways. And maintaining a good reputation that is not only for oneself, but also one's family, one's tribe, and really one's culture as a whole. I prefer to look at it through this lens of rule-based and relationship-based cultures. So relationship-based cultures being having more of a collectivist aspect to them, in which there's very much more respect for relationships as opposed to contracts. The idea of objective laws or rules kind of governing everyday behavior and norms and making sure that social order is maintained is not really the way that people comport themselves. It has more to do with everybody always kind of watching each other and maintaining those social norms through relationships, which might include scolding in some cases, or just regulating behavior or correcting behavior in a way that's maybe a little bit more personal than what we would expect in the quote-unquote West. Respect for gender segregation is absolutely first and foremost. Around the age of puberty, if not earlier, men and women who are marriageable, so that would mean non-brothers, non-parents, and non-uncles, they are separated. So that's kind of first and foremost. And then there's a lot of just awareness and respect for making sure that you're not crossing boundaries. So they make sure that they would never take a photo of their face and allow it to be posted publicly. They often don't use their real names because a woman's name is considered sacred and something that is not to be spread or to be known by non-family members or non-women. And they're also very careful to most often maintain a private Instagram account, for example. So they'll only allow females, usually close friends, and family members, close male family members, to follow them. But they'll follow loads and loads of people. They'll be very, very active on Instagram, but just really maintain a tight circle of who is able to see the media that they are pushing out. And if it is a photo of, even then, rarely would they even post a photo of their face because it could potentially get out, which would cause a real problem. In the Gulf, it's been a really great avenue for women to start businesses and to have jobs, particularly if they're in a situation where maybe their male guardians don't necessarily want them working outside of the house so much. So it's pretty common now, Qataris and Saudis and people, of various nationalities living in the region, to sell all kinds of things on Instagram. And they tapped into this very early on, well before it was a known thing in the US. It's still in the US, it's not super common. But women sell all kinds of things. They sell abayas, they sell accessories, they sell cupcakes, flower arrangements. Men do as well, but it's been a real boon, I think, for women to kind of become empowered. So there's a lot of advertising of products on Instagram. If I see something I like, oh, this flower arrangement's beautiful, I'll comment. And then we take the interaction over to WhatsApp, where we discuss the details and the payment and the delivery. And then it's a trust system. I trust that the driver will show up with my dozen roses at this address at this time, and the seller trusts that I will, give the money in cash. It's important now, especially at this point in the world, for us to understand perspectives that don't come from this individualistic Western point of view. And the goal of some place like Facebook is to make the world more open and connected. So if we want the world to be more open and connected, we need to understand that the ways in which people are open and choose to connect are different from maybe how we would go about those processes from a cultural perspective that doesn't involve gender segregation, for example, on a day-to-day basis, or in which family honor is not the value to which I adhere to on a regular basis. So once we start to understand more nuance when it comes to things like privacy, we can make these products more useful, more easily useful for people who do have a different set of values, as opposed to forcing them, if they do want to use social media, to have to really employ a lot of workarounds and a lot of hacks to figure out how to make them a regular part of their lives.